A black woman received letters from a secret admirer, not knowing it was the millionaire. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from today. The old elevator in a tall apartment building in Brooklyn made loud creaking sounds as it slowly went down to the lobby. Imani Clark sighed and looked at her watch. It was already 11 p.m. and she had to get to her night job at the college library. The elevator was broken again, so she would have to use the stairs. Imani pulled her blue cardigan tighter and picked up her old leather bag. She was 28 years old and used to her quiet life. She worked at night, slept during the day, and spent her free time reading books or taking care of her plants. Her life wasn't exciting, but it was hers. "Hold the door, please," Imani called as she hurried to the building's front door. Her neighbor, an old lady named Mrs. Peterson, turned and smiled. "Off to work, dear?" she asked. "Yes, same as always," Imani replied with a small smile. "Have a good night," Mrs. Peterson said, patting her arm. "You too, sweetie. Be safe out there." As Imani walked down the dark street, she didn't see the black car across from her building. She also didn't see the man watching her from the top floor window. Damien Renault stepped away from the window of his fancy apartment on the top floor. He had lived in the building for almost a year, but no one really knew he was there. People thought the big apartment was just one of his many empty homes. Damien was 30 years old. He had everything money could buy, but he didn't have what truly mattered. He had started a tech company in college and now it was worth millions. But being rich made him feel more alone. People either wanted his money or were too scared to talk to him. Except for her. The kind woman who lived on the third floor. The one who once smiled at him on the stairs, not knowing who he was. It was a real smile, not like the fake ones people gave him. He hadn't seen a smile like that in years. "Mr. Renault, your dinner is ready," said his housekeeper, Grace. "Thank you, Grace. I'll be right there," Damien said quietly. He sat at his big dinner table alone. His home was filled with expensive furniture and beautiful art, but it still felt empty. As he picked at his food, he thought again about the woman from the third floor. He had found her name in the building's directory, Imani Clark. He had seen her watering her plants on the fire escape, humming to herself when she thought no one was watching. Tomorrow, he decided, tomorrow he would do something different. When Imani came home the next morning, she was very tired and ready to sleep, but something caught her eye. There was a plain white envelope on the floor near her door. Her name was written on it in neat handwriting. "What's this?" she said to herself as she picked it up and unlocked her door. Her apartment was small but warm. Bookshelves filled the walls and potted plants sat on every window. It wasn't fancy, but it felt like home. Imani took off her shoes and sat on her old couch. She carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a letter on fancy paper. It said, "Dear Imani, I've noticed how you take care of your plants. The way you talk to them like they're your friends. The way you smile when they grow. It may seem like a small thing, but it's special. Most people rush by, but you take time to care. You are more seen than you know." Imani read the letter again and again. Her heart beat faster. Who had written this? Who had been watching her with her plants? She should have felt scared, but the words felt kind and gentle. She put the letter on the table and stared at it. "This is weird, right?" she asked her cat, Gatsby, who had jumped on the couch. The cat blinked slowly. That night, Imani looked more carefully at people in the building. Could it be the quiet man in apartment 2B, the new lady on her floor, the old couple upstairs? No one seemed like the writer. The next morning, there was another envelope. "Dear Imani, today I saw you carrying Their Eyes Were Watching God." It's one of my favorite books too. The way the writer talks about finding your voice, it's powerful. I wonder what other books you love. You are more seen than you know. A friend, Imani smiled. She really had been carrying that book. She had just borrowed it again from the library. The letters kept coming every few days. Each one noticed something small about her: the yellow scarf she wore when it rained, how she fed birds in the park, how she helped Mrs. Peterson with her groceries. After 2 weeks, Imani looked forward to the letters. They made her feel special, seen, and important. "I got another one," she told her friend Zara while having coffee. Zara raised her eyebrow. "Are you sure this isn't creepy? Someone's watching you pretty closely." "I know it sounds like it, but it doesn't feel creepy," Imani said. "The letters are never rude. They're just kind." "So who do you think it is?" Zara asked, stirring her coffee. "I don't know. I've been trying to figure it out," Imani sighed. "But part of me doesn't want to know. What if I'm disappointed? Or what if he's super handsome and likes you?" Zara teased. Imani rolled her eyes but smiled. "It's probably not that simple." From his window, Damien watched Imani leave with her friend. He knew writing letters like this was strange, but he didn't know how else to talk to her. If he told her he was Damien Renault, she'd only see a millionaire, not a real person. His phone rang. "Yes," he answered. "Mr. Renault, the board wants you at the meeting tomorrow," his assistant said. "They're worried about you not showing up in public." "I'll be there at 2 p.m., Damien said. He hung up and went back to his desk. A blank sheet of paper waited. These letters were the truest words he had written in years. The next morning, Imani found a new letter. "Dear Imani, last night I heard you humming on your fire escape. It was Claire de Lune, wasn't it? The music stayed in my mind all night. If music says what words can't, you are more seen than you know." Imani felt a flutter in her chest. This time, she decided to reply in her own way. She wore the green sweater he had once complimented in a letter. She held a book called Letters to a Young Poet. Another hint. It felt like the beginning of a secret conversation. Days passed and more letters came. Imani started replying without words. She wore the clothes he liked, read books he mentioned, and once left a small plant outside her door with a note that said, "For a friend who sees." The next day, the plant was gone. A new letter was left in its place, thanking her. Imani started to fall for the mystery person. She didn't know him, but he made her feel special. "I think she knows I exist now," Damien told his friend Daniel on the phone. "You mean the woman you've been writing love letters to?" Daniel laughed. "When are you going to talk to her for real?" "It's not easy," Damien sighed. "What if she's disappointed when she finds out who I am?" "She'll see you're a real person, not just a rich guy," Daniel said. "You can't keep this going forever." Damien knew his friend was right. One rainy night, Imani came home and saw news vans parked outside. Reporters stood under umbrellas. "What's happening?" she asked the doorman. "Didn't you hear?" he said. "It's true. Damien Renault, the millionaire, has been living in the penthouse," someone told the press. Imani's heart jumped. The penthouse? She thought no one lived there. "He's very private," the doorman said. "I've barely seen him, and I work here every day." Back on her floor, a new envelope was waiting. Her hands shook as she opened it. "Dear Imani, you probably know by now. I wanted to tell you myself, but I was scared. Scared that once you knew who I was, everything would change. I'm the one who's been writing to you, and I'd like to finally meet you. If you're willing, I'll be waiting in the rooftop garden at sunset tomorrow. You are more seen than you know." Imani leaned against her door. Damien Renault, the secret writer, had noticed her all this time. Was it real or just a game? Was she special or just someone he was curious about? She didn't know what to feel, but then something small dropped from the envelope. It was a silver key to the rooftop garden. She stared at it, her heart beating fast. Tomorrow, at sunset, she would meet the man behind the letters. That night, she barely slept. The letter lay beside her bed, and the small key sparkled in the soft light. She picked it up and turned it in her fingers. "Should I really go?" she whispered. "What would you do, Gatsby?" she asked her cat. He just yawned. In the morning, reporters were still outside. Imani had to push past them to get to the library. "Do you live in the building? "Have you seen Damien Renault?" a reporter asked. "No comment," Imani said quickly. She had never even seen him in person, but now she knew he had been upstairs all along. At the library, Imani couldn't focus. She kept messing up books and jumping when people walked by. "Are you okay?" her coworker James asked. "You look really distracted." "I'm fine. Just didn't sleep well," she said, not meeting his eyes. James leaned on the desk. "There's a rumor that the rich guy Damien Renault lives in your building. Is it true?" Imani stopped working for a moment. Her hands froze in place. "I don't know. I just mind my own business," she said softly. "Well, if you ever meet him, tell him I've got great ideas for phone apps." James laughed. Imani gave a small smile and looked back at her work. But even while working, her mind kept thinking about the rooftop garden and what might be waiting for her there. In his big, fancy home at the top of the building, Damien was walking back and forth. He was very worried. People had found out where he lived. His phone kept ringing again and again. His helpers, his business team, and even the board of his company were all calling him. "I need to be alone, just for today," Damien told his assistant on the phone. "No meetings, no calls, unless it's something really important." "But sir," said the assistant, "the board wants you to say something to the news about your home being shared." "Tomorrow," Damien said, firmly. "I'll talk about it tomorrow." He hung up the phone and looked out the window. He could see many reporters standing outside the building. He felt sad. This wasn't how he wanted Imani to find out who he was. The letters he had sent her were supposed to build a special bridge between them, a way to know each other without money or fame getting in the way. But now everything felt shaky. Would she still come to the rooftop? Or would she think he was just another rich man playing a game? Damien felt more nervous than ever before. Not even big business deals or TV interviews made him feel this way. This was different. This was real. Later that day, Imani was eating lunch when her phone rang. It was her best friend, Zara. "Girl, is it true? Damien Renault lives in your building?" Zara sounded very excited. Imani sighed. "Apparently. And you never told me? This is huge. He's one of the richest young men in the whole country, and he's single." "I didn't know until yesterday," Imani said honestly. Then she paused and added, "Zara, there's something else." "What?" Zara asked, curious. "Remember the letters I told you about? The secret notes left at my door?" "The mystery admirer letters? Of course. What about them?" Imani took a deep breath. "They were from him, from Damien Renault." Zara was quiet for so long that Imani thought the call had ended. Then suddenly, Zara shouted, "Are you serious? The Damien Renault has been writing you letters. Imani, this is just like a movie." "They weren't love letters," Imani said quietly, though she wasn't so sure herself. "And I don't know what to do. He asked me to meet him at sunset on the rooftop garden." "And you're not sure? Why?" Zara asked, shocked. "Because what if it's a joke?" Imani whispered. "Why would a man like that like someone like me?" "Imani Clark, listen to me," Zara said firmly. "You are smart, kind, and beautiful. Any man would be lucky to have you, rich or not." After work, Imani stood in front of her closet, unsure. She had the small silver key to the rooftop in her pocket. It felt heavy. If she went, what should she wear? If she didn't go, would she regret it forever? She pulled out a simple green dress. He had once said in a letter that the color reminded him of hope. She placed it on her bed and stepped back. "This is crazy," she whispered. "He's a millionaire. I'm a librarian. This doesn't happen in real life." But the letters had been real, and they had made her feel something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Someone had seen her for who she truly was. At the very top of the building, Damien was getting everything ready. The garden looked magical with plants and soft lights. The air was warm and the sun was setting, painting the sky orange. He set up a small table with 2 chairs, a bottle of juice. It looked like wine, but let's call it juice. 2 glasses, and a simple dinner from a restaurant he liked. Nothing too fancy. He didn't want her to feel like it was about his money. He wanted it to be about their connection. Damien looked at his watch. Would she come? Imani stood in front of her mirror. She wore the green dress. Her hair was down, and her makeup was light. She looked like herself. She picked up the last letter and read it again. You are more seen than you know. That sentence had given her strength when she felt invisible. She needed to meet the person who wrote it. She took a deep breath, picked up the silver key, and left her apartment. The elevator ride to the top floor felt both fast and slow. When the doors opened, she saw a hallway she had never been in before. At the end was a door that said roof access. Her hand shook a little as she used the key. When the door opened, she gasped. The garden looked like a dream. Green plants covered the walls, tiny lights sparkled, and there, standing by a small table, was Damien. He didn't look like he did in the magazines. He looked real. His hair was a little messy from the wind. His warm brown eyes looked nervous as he watched her. For a moment, they just looked at each other. The city glowed behind them, but they only saw one another. You came, Damien said quietly. I had to know if the person in the letters was real, Imani said. And the person who understood those letters, was she real too? He asked. Imani smiled a little. I guess we're both here to find out. Would you like to sit with me? Damien asked, pointing to the table. No pressure. If you want to leave, it's okay. Imani paused, then walked into the garden and sat down. I have questions. I'd be sad if you didn't, he said. Why me? She asked. Damien looked at his hands. Do you remember smiling at me on the stairs about 3 months ago? I smile at people all the time, she said, thinking hard. You were carrying books. I was walking down. You looked right at me and smiled, not because you knew me, but just because you're kind, he said. I remember now, she said slowly. I started noticing you, Damien said. How you hum when you water your plants. How you feed the stray cat. The books you carry. You care about little things. That's special in my world. So you watched me? She asked, a little unsure. Not in a weird way, Damien said quickly. Just when we crossed paths, the letters, I didn't know how else to talk to you without my name getting in the way. You could have just said hi, Imani said, and you would have looked me up that night, Damien said with a sad smile. You would have seen that I'm rich. Would you have seen me the same? Imani didn't know how to answer. I don't know, but not telling me the truth at first, that's not a great way to start. You're right, Damien said. I just wanted to be real, to know you without the noise. As they talked, things felt easier. Damien poured them some juice and they shared dinner. He told her about being rich but lonely and how he started his company when he was in college. He said even with all his success, he still felt alone. Imani told him about growing up in Queens, her love for books, and her dream of writing her own stories one day. Time passed. Neither of them noticed how late it got. When a cool breeze blew, Imani shivered. You're cold, Damien said. He stood up and gently placed his jacket on her shoulders. Their eyes met. They came from very different worlds, but something special had started. Thank you for coming, Damien said softly. I know it wasn't easy. Thank you for the letters, Imani replied. They made me feel seen. For a moment, it looked like Damien might kiss her, but he stepped back. He wanted to give her space. Can I walk you to your apartment? He asked. She nodded. They rode the elevator down together. It felt quiet. The real world was coming back. At her door, she gave him back his jacket. So, what happens now? That's up to you, Damien said. I'd like to see you again. No more secrets, just two people getting to know each other. But we're very different, Imani said. Yes, Damien said, but maybe that's not bad. As they stood there, she made a choice. She would try. I'd like that, she said, but no more secrets. No secrets, he promised. As he turned to leave, she called out, Damien, the letters. Don't stop writing them. He smiled. I won't. When he was gone, Imani leaned against her door. Her heart was racing. She had just said yes to dating Damien Renault, the quiet millionaire who lived upstairs. The man who had reached her heart with only words. What she didn't know was that someone outside the building had taken a photo of Damien entering earlier that evening. By morning, the whole city would be talking. The big letters on the front page of the New York Daily Star shouted, "Millionaire Bachelor's Mystery Woman Who Has Captured Damien Renault's Heart." Under the headline, there was a blurry photo. It showed Damien walking into Imani's building. You could see part of his face from the side. The next morning, Imani almost dropped her coffee. Her friend Zara had texted her the article link. "Have you seen this?" Zara wrote, "They don't know it's you yet, but it won't take long." Imani's hands were shaking as she clicked the link. The article talked all about Damien's love life. It said people close to him shared that he had been visiting someone in the building. One person from the building even said, "She's not from his world." "Great," Imani said quietly. She was still thinking about her time with Damien last night, and now the whole city was talking about them. Suddenly, her phone rang. The number was not saved in her phone. She waited a second, then picked up. "Hello?" "Imani, it's Damien," he said. His voice sounded serious. "I just saw the article. I'm so sorry." Imani sat down on her sofa. "How did they even find out?" "Someone must have told the press," Damien said. "This happens a lot in my life, but you're not used to this. Are you okay?" "I don't know," Imani said. "They don't know it's me yet, but they might figure it out," Damien said, finishing her thought. "Listen, I understand if you want to stop seeing me. All this attention can be too much." Part of Imani wanted to hide. She liked her quiet life. But a stronger part remembered the rooftop and how Damien had looked at her like she was the only person in the world. "I'm not going to back away," she said, sounding braver than she felt. "But I need time to think about what all this means." "Of course," Damien replied. He sounded relieved. "Take all the time you need. And Imani, check your door." After they ended the call, Imani walked to her door and opened it. There was a small envelope on the floor. It was a letter, just like the ones she had received before. Inside was a single paper with Damien's neat handwriting. "Dear Imani, last night, under the stars, I saw your smile up close. It was even more beautiful than I remembered. Thank you for letting me know the real you, the woman behind the smile that changed my world. You are more seen than you know." Imani smiled as she read the letter. Her heart felt warm. The letters still made her feel special, even now that she knew Damien had written them. That evening at work, Imani could feel people staring at her. News had traveled fast. Everyone knew Damien Renault lived in her building. Everyone was curious. "So, have you seen the famous Millionaire?" her coworker James asked as they sorted books. "Once or twice," Imani said softly, not looking at him. "What's he like? Is he super bossy like they say?" James asked. Imani frowned. He seemed normal, actually. Before James could ask more, their boss called him away. Imani was left alone with her thoughts. She hadn't told anyone about meeting Damien, only Zara knew. It still felt too new, too special to share. When her shift ended, she walked out of the library. She saw a shiny black car parked across the street. The window rolled down. It was Damien. "Need a ride?" he asked with a smile. Imani looked around. "Won't people see us?" "They will eventually," Damien said, "but we can be careful for now, if that helps." Imani thought for a second, then got into the car. The inside was fancy but simple, just like Damien. "How was work?" he asked. The question made her smile. "It was fine. People are asking about you." "People always ask about me," Damien said, sighing. He told her about his day. Meetings, phone calls, and lots of work at his tech company. Imani listened, trying to picture what his life was like. "Sorry," he said. "I must be boring you." "No," Imani replied. "I'm just trying to understand your world." Damien looked at her softly. "My world feels much better with you in it." When they got to their building, the driver went into a private garage to avoid photographers. They rode the elevator quietly, Damien's hand gently touching hers. When they reached her floor, he asked, "Would you like to have dinner tomorrow at my place? I could cook for you." Amani raised an eyebrow. "You cook?" "Don't look so surprised," Damien laughed. "I wasn't always rich. I had to cook for myself in college." "I'd like that," Amani said, smiling. Damien held her hand and gently pulled her close. Then he kissed her, soft and kind, like a promise. "Good night, Amani," he whispered. "Good night," she said, her heart beating fast. The next morning, someone knocked on her door loudly. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Peterson. Her eyes were wide. "Amani, is it true? Are you dating Damien Renault?" She held up a magazine. On the cover was a photo of Amani and Damien in his car. The title said, "Renault's mystery woman revealed, millionaire dating ordinary librarian." Amani felt sick. "Where did you get this?" "It's everywhere. TV, internet, everyone's talking." Amani closed the door and leaned against it. Now the whole world knew. Her quiet life was no longer private. Her phone buzzed with messages, friends, family, even people she hadn't heard from in years. Everyone wanted to know about her and Damien. She called him. "I saw it," he said right away. "I'm so sorry, Amani. This is not what I wanted for you." "What do we do now?" she asked. "First, I'm coming to your apartment. We need to talk." A few minutes later, Damien was at her door. He looked tired. He hadn't slept much. Inside, he looked at her books, plants, and cozy home. Gatsby the cat came over and rubbed against Damien's leg. "At least someone isn't bothered by the news," Damien said, petting the cat. Amani sat on the sofa with the magazine in her hand. "I don't know if I can live like this," she said. "I like being private." Damien sat beside her and held her hand. "I get it. I've had to live with this kind of attention forever. It's not easy, but the reporters will stop soon. We have some choices." "Like what?" "We could tell our story to one reporter and ask for privacy, or we could ignore everything and live our lives." He squeezed her hand. "Or, if it's too much, we can step back until things calm down." That last choice hung in the air. Amani looked at his hand holding hers. Then she looked at his kind face. She remembered his letters, his rooftop, his smile. "I don't want to step back," she said, "but I don't want to do interviews either. Can we just try to be normal, even with all this?" Damien looked so happy. "Yes," he said, "that's exactly what I want." That evening, they didn't go to his fancy place. Instead, they stayed in her apartment. Damien brought groceries and they cooked together in her small kitchen. They laughed as they bumped into each other. "This is cozier than my place," Damien said as they sat at her small table. "Sometimes I feel lonely up there." "We can move your plants down here," Amani joked. "Make it even cozier." Damien smiled. "That's not a bad idea, not turning your apartment into a jungle, but finding a middle ground. A place that's not just mine or yours, but ours." The word ours made Amani's heart flutter. Later, they sat on the sofa watching a movie. Damien's phone kept buzzing. "I'm sorry," he said, checking it. "There's a problem with our European launch." Amani nodded, trying not to look sad. "I understand." Damien looked at her. "This is the hard part, trying to build something with you while running a huge company, but I want to make it work." Before he left, Damien placed another letter on her kitchen counter. This was their thing now, leaving letters. Amani opened it after he left. "Dear Amani, tonight, in your small kitchen, watching you move in your world, I learned something big. I've been searching for a place that feels like home. Not a building, but a feeling. Tonight, I found it with you. You are more seen than you know, and now, so am I." The next few weeks were full of happy and hard moments. The news and pictures didn't stop right away. But slowly, other stories came out, and the reporters went away. Amani and Damien made their own little world. They had dinners in her place. They sat in his rooftop garden. He still wrote her letters, and she kept them in a special box by her bed. She even showed him her favorite books and marked the parts that reminded her of him. But his job was very busy. Sometimes he had to leave quickly for meetings or trips. "Sorry about dinner," he said one night after canceling. "The Tokyo office needs help." "It's okay," Imani said, though she looked sad. "You're more important than my work," Damien said. But after a while, Imani began to wonder, was that really true? His life was so big, and hers was so simple. She didn't know how she fit into his world. They were falling in love. Neither had said the words yet, but they both felt it. Then Damien told her something big. "My company is hosting a charity party next weekend," he said. One evening, Damien and Imani sat on the fire escape of her apartment. The sun was going down, and the sky looked orange and pink. Damien smiled and said, "I want you to come with me to a big party as my date." Imani became nervous. This would be the first time they would go somewhere together as a couple. "Will there be a lot of people?" she asked, even though she already knew the answer. "Yes," Damien said. "There will be business people, famous people, even the news." "I don't know, Damien," Imani said. "That's a lot of attention." Damien held her hand gently. "I know it's a big thing, but I don't want to hide our love anymore. I want to walk into that party with the woman who means the most to me." Imani looked into his eyes and saw he really meant it. "What would I even wear to something like that?" she asked. Damien smiled. "Anything you want. You'll look beautiful no matter what." 1 week before the party, Imani felt nervous. She had never been to a fancy event like that. Her best friend Zara helped her find a pretty blue dress, but Imani still felt out of place. She wasn't used to Damien's rich and shiny world. The night before the party, Imani stood in front of her mirror wearing the blue dress. It was beautiful, but it didn't feel like her. It felt like she was playing dress up. Then there was a knock at the door. It was Damien. He was holding a small box. "I know the party is tomorrow," he said, "but I wanted to give you this tonight." Inside the box was a silver necklace with a tiny key on it. It looked just like the key Damien had given her to his rooftop. "This is to remind you of where we started," Damien said kindly. "No matter what happens tomorrow, what matters is us." Imani had tears in her eyes as Damien put the necklace on her. "Thank you," she whispered. Just then, Damien's phone rang. It was his assistant. Damien's face turned serious. "What? Who leaked it?" he said. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. "What's wrong?" Imani asked. "Someone is stealing secrets from my company," Damien explained. "It's a big problem and I have to fix it tonight." "I understand," said Imani. Before leaving, Damien said, after he left, Imani touched the tiny key on her necklace and hoped everything would be okay. What she didn't know was that someone else was planning to go to the party too, someone from Damien's past who didn't like her. The next evening, Imani got ready. She wore her blue gown and the silver key necklace. She had her hair up and wore just a little makeup so she could still feel like herself. At 7 o'clock, there was a knock. Damien stood at the door, wearing a black tuxedo. He looked tired but very handsome. "You look beautiful," he said, smiling. Imani smiled too. "You don't look so bad yourself. Are you ready?" he asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," she said. In the car, Damien told her who they might meet. Rich people, famous people, and even politicians. "Just be yourself," he said, squeezing her hand. "That's who I want next to me." When they arrived, photographers took pictures. Bright lights flashed everywhere. Damien held her close and helped her walk to the door. Inside, the ballroom sparkled. There were shiny lights, soft music, and waiters carrying fancy food. An older man walked up with a big smile. "Damien, and who is this?" "This is Imani Clark," Damien said. "Senator Harrison, she's very special to me." "Nice to meet you, my dear," the man said. Damien hasn't brought a date in years. People kept coming to talk to Damien's but he always kept Imani close. He held her hand or placed it gently on her back. "You're doing great," he whispered. "Everyone likes you." Imani smiled, but she still felt different. The people here talked about things she didn't know, places she'd never been and lives she didn't live. Then a tall woman in a red dress walked up. She had shiny diamonds and perfect hair. Damien, darling, she said. It's been too long. Damien looked stiff. Isla, I didn't know you were coming. I wouldn't miss your party, she said. Then she looked at Imani. And this must be the librarian everyone is talking about. She said librarian like it was a bad thing. This is Isla, Damien said. She's the daughter of one of our investors. How sweet, Isla said. I think it's nice when men like Damien help people from simple backgrounds. Imani felt hurt but didn't show it. Nice to meet you, Isla, she said. Isla touched Damien's arm and whispered, Let's talk later, darling. When Isla walked away, Imani asked, Who is she really? We dated a long time ago, Damien said, but it's over. During dinner, people looked at Imani and whispered. Some were just curious, but others looked unkind. Isla sat next to Damien and kept talking in his ear. Are you okay? Damien asked when they had a moment alone. It's a lot, Imani admitted. We can leave if you want, Damien said. But before she could answer, Damien had to go give a speech. He talked about helping kids learn with technology. Imani felt proud of him. He cared about people and used his money to help. While he was speaking, Isla sat next to Imani. He's a good talker, isn't he? Isla said. Yes, Imani said. Listen, dear, Isla said quietly. You seem sweet, so here's advice. Damien's world is different. He doesn't belong in your little world with books and plants. He'll come back to this one. You don't know him like I do, Imani said, trying to stay strong. Isla smiled. Oh, but I do. We're the same. This is his real life, not yours. Damien came back and saw that something was wrong. What did she say? He asked. Nothing that matters, Imani said, but the words had hurt her. She started to wonder if Isla was right. In the car ride home, Damien noticed her quietness. What's wrong? He asked gently. Imani looked out the window. Do you think we really know each other? Our worlds are so different. Is this about Isla? It's about everything, she said. You belong in that world. I don't. Damien turned to her. I don't belong in that world either. That's business. The real me is the man who writes you letters, the man who loves your tiny kitchen and being with you. Imani wanted to believe Damien, but she still felt a little worried. How can you be sure? She asked. What if one day you wake up and feel like you need someone who understands the world you came from? Someone like Isla? Because I love you, Damien said quietly. The words stayed in the air between them. It was the first time either of them had said I love you out loud. I love you, Imani Clark, he said again. Not because you fit or don't fit in my world. I love you because when I'm with you, I feel like myself. And that's something I've been looking for all my life. Tears came to Imani's eyes. I love you too, she whispered. That's why I'm scared to lose you. When they got to the building, Damien had an idea. Let's go to the rooftop garden, he said. It was the place where they first met in person. The stars were above them, and lights and plants were all around. Damien held both of her hands. I need to tell you something, he said seriously. The security problem at my company, it was Isla. Imani looked surprised. What? How do you know? We followed the clues, Damien explained. She used old codes I gave her when we were together. She's been giving company secrets to others for a long time. But why did she come to the fancy party tonight? Imani asked. Wasn't she scared you'd know? Damien shook his head. She didn't know we had found out. She came because she found out about you, about us. She thought she could make us fight. She wanted me to doubt what we have. She almost did, Imani said softly. She made me wonder if I could ever really be part of your world. Damien moved closer and looked into her eyes. You're not meant to fit into my world, Imani. We're meant to make a new world together, one with the best of both our lives. He reached into his pocket and took out a small envelope. Another letter? Imani asked. She opened it with shaking hands. Dear Imani, tonight as you walk into what people call my world, I want you to know a truth. I've kept this truth in my heart since the day you smiled at me. My life was empty before you. It had things but no meaning. You brought color to my gray world. If I could give you anything, it would be this truth. You belong with me. Not because you fit into some idea of who should be here, but because you made a space just for us. You are more seen than you think, and I am more loved than I ever dreamed. Yours always, Damien. Imani looked up from the letter. Damien got down on one knee and held out a small box made of soft velvet. I plan to wait, he said gently, to give us more time. But tonight I learned that time isn't what matters. What matters is being sure. And I have never been more sure of anything than I am of us. He opened the box. Inside was a ring with a simple, beautiful diamond. I picked this ring because it reminds me of you, beautiful without trying. Special not for how it looks, but for what it is. Imani's heart beat fast as Damien kept talking. Imani Clark, you saw me when no one else did. You loved me for who I am, not what I have. Will you marry me? Will you help me build a life that is just ours, not mine or yours, but ours together? Tears ran down Imani's cheeks. Yes, she whispered. Yes. Damien put the ring on her finger, stood up, and hugged her. Their kiss was full of love, trust, and a promise that started with letters and had now grown into something strong. 6 months later, Imani stood on the balcony of their new home. It was a brownstone in Brooklyn that they fixed up together. It wasn't as fancy as Damien's old home or as small as her old apartment, but it was just right for them. Books lined the walls, plants grew happily in every room, and a little garden bloomed on the rooftop. Damien came outside and hugged her from behind. "What are you thinking about, Mrs. Renault?" he asked. Imani smiled at her new name. She was still getting used to it. "I'm thinking about letters," she said, "and how they changed our lives." Inside, on the table, was a special book covered in leather. It was a wedding gift from Damien. Inside were all the letters he had ever written her with pictures of their journey together. The last page held a new letter. It was written on their wedding day. "Dear Imani, today, as we join our lives together, I remember how everything started with words left at your door. Those words tried to show what I saw in you when everyone else passed by without noticing. Now, as your husband, I make this promise. I will see you every single day. I will notice the small things, how you smile while reading, how you hum to your plants, how you're kind to strangers without asking anything in return. You taught me that truly seeing someone is the best gift you can give. I will spend my life giving that gift back to you. You are more seen than you know, more loved than words can say, and more important to me than anything. Forever yours, Damien." "I have something for you too," Imani said as she turned in his arms. She handed him an envelope. "It's my first letter to you," she said. "I thought it was time I wrote back." As Damien read her words, his eyes filled with happy tears. The woman who once felt invisible had found her voice, and the man who had everything had found the one thing he truly needed: love. From their little brownstone home, they could see the stars above and the big city below. It was the perfect view of the world they had built together, a world where love had made a bridge between two hearts who might never have met, if not for letters. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.